Hey designers, and welcome back. I am very excited today because I finally have a chance to answer all of your questions, so you're going to want to stick around. Well, yes, it is that time again. A couple of weeks ago, I called for questions, and you guys came through, as always. It seems there's always something you guys want to know, and I am always happy to answer them because it lets me get to know you a little better by knowing what you want to know, and it helps you get to know me a little better by answering what you want to know. So we're going to just jump right on in. As always, I put these questions out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. So we're just going to jump all over social media, pulling these questions out to find out what you wanted to know. To start with, we're going to jump on over to Instagram. First up, from Minnesota Girl 24, what is your favorite childhood memory growing up and why? That is a very good question, but that is honestly a tough question. I have to say, I have so many good childhood memories. I really do. So many things that I was able to do as a child that stands out really, really great in my mind. But I guess probably one of the funniest memories that I tell, and believe it or not, I can still remember this. I was around 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, somewhere in there. And my parents had a riding lawnmower. Yes, they did. And for whatever reason, I got on that riding lawnmower one afternoon and proceeded to drive it around the yard. I don't believe the blades were engaged because my parents would have never let me do anything that dangerous. But as I was driving it around, I got really close to the chain link fence that was surrounding our property, and the lawnmower started traveling right up the fence, knocking me off to the back. I still remember that because it was fun. Like, I thought, whoa, this is some kind of ride. Obviously, they were a little scared about what was fixing to happen, but that's probably one of the ones that stands out in my mind the most. Is probably one of the funniest incidents that happened. But as far as great childhood memories, I have a lot of those, and who knows, maybe one day we can do a video just talking about favorite childhood memories. Next up comes from Piglet1155. She is wanting to know, what is the best Bible study daily devotional? That's a great question as well. I have used several devotionals over the year, but I got to tell you, in all honesty, I just simply love reading God's Word right on its own, because God can speak to us personally in so many ways, even without the explanation that other people put into those devotionals, if that makes sense to you. There's a great many of them out there, a wide array of Bible devotionals that are fantastic, but for me personally, I like just spending time one-on-one with God, right straight from His Word, so that's my favorite. Next up is from Pierce, Georgia Mama. Will you ever do a meet and greet in Georgia? If there was enough call for one, I absolutely would. I love to meet you guys. I have had the privilege of meeting a few of you guys, and it's always so very fun. So yeah, if there was enough people from the Georgia area that wanted to meet up with me, sure, we would schedule a day and do that because I think that would be super fun. Next up is from Makeup and Lyrics Forever. What is your favorite Bible verse? And what age did you accept Jesus into your life? That's some great questions. My favorite Bible verse is Romans 5:8. For while we were yet still sinners, Christ died for us. Love that verse. I think it sums up God's love all right there in those few words, because Jesus didn't wait till we were perfect. He didn't wait until our lives were something worth dying for, so to speak. He thought we were worth it just because we were human, and just because He created us, and just because He loved us. So right there, even in our mess, even in our sin, before we were even thinking of coming to know Him or the Father, He chose to go to that cross for us, and I love that. I love the message behind that and what value and worth it gives everyone, because we don't have to be perfect to get to know Him. So absolutely love that one. And what age did I come to know Christ? The first time that I can remember making a decision for Christ, I was 9 years old. I still remember it. I remember looking up at my dad in the big sanctuary one night, asking him to walk to the front with me because the pastor had said, anyone who wants to invite Jesus into their lives, come up front. And so my dad did. He walked me down there. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. So I was very, very young. I recommitted my life to the Lord. I've always loved the Lord and always served the Lord. But you know, a lot of us kind of veer off a little bit from what we should be doing as believers. So I was around 30, 31, somewhere in there when I really rededicated my life to the Lord, selling out 100%, going all in, just all in. And that radically changed me. I mean, even more so from whenever I was growing up loving Jesus and living for him the best I could. Whenever I hit my 30s in there, something drastically changed and I was all in. And it definitely has changed who I am. So great questions. Love those. Next up is from YouTube, She of Three Angels. She says, what is the hardest part for you? Food, exercise, motivation on your Transformation Tuesday adventure, and how do you overcome it? That's a great question, Lori, because I think the hardest one for me has to be the food, because I love sugar. That's no surprise to those of you who have been following DeeVine DeeZine for a while, especially over on the vlog channel when we take you sometimes to eat with us, or some of the desserts that we do. Baby girl loves to bake, and so she's always concocting something around here. And I love sugar. I love to eat. I love, you know, everything that we have done in my whole life growing up was always centered around food. You know, families gather for the holidays around food. You have special events around food, birthdays, and all those kind of things. So it's like food is a huge part of our fellowship and communication as adults, well, and children. It's just a big part of life. And when we gather together, there's always something good to eat. And it gives me a good feeling. So that is the hardest for me, Lori. It really is. And so the next part of your question was, how am I trying to overcome that? I tell you what, first of all, with a lot of prayer, because I know that I can't break that kind of addiction or draw or whatever you want to call it on my own. And second of all, just rethinking food. You know, that it doesn't have to be the high sugar, chocolate, sweet content that makes you feel good, that you really can still fellowship and have a great time with each other around food with healthier choices, with healthier options, remembering that food is wonderful. It's wonderfully delicious, even in its natural state, and really much more so once you get all that sugar out of there. So I'm just having to reprogram my mind in the way I think about food. And yeah, it's a challenge. It is a challenge, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. All right, next up is from Nina Rickman, 154. She says, what are the pros and cons of being on YouTube? Great question. The pros of being on YouTube, the biggest one is all of you whom I've met. That is my favorite part about being on YouTube, because I've met a lot of you wonderful people, just either with conversations back and forth down in the comments, emails, inboxes for private messages, a few of you that I've had a chance to meet up with and get to meet in person and get to know. It really is possible to get to know people this way, to build a friendship, and that's my favorite. That's by far my favorite thing about being on YouTube. The cons of being on YouTube, obviously, is going to have to be the trolls, because once in a while they come out. The judgment that you receive on your life from other people who think they know you because they see you for a few minutes each day through your videos. That's probably the worst thing, I think, about YouTube, because it really is such a minor glimpse into our lives. Even on the vlog channel, those of you that follow over on the vlogs, we kind of take you through our daily life. But even at that, I've got a 5 or 6 minute video out of a 24-hour span of time. It's not really fully the picture of our life at all times, if that makes sense to you. And so, you know, the judgments that come out, whether it's about actions that you're taking, food that you're eating, or just different things like that, people think they know you from 5 minutes out of a 24-hour span, and they make judgment calls on your life that sometimes are very unfair and very hateful. So by far, that's the worst thing. All right, next up is from Jessica Marie 0158. She says, how old were you when you got married, and at what age did you have your children? We've talked about that one in a lot of detail before. I don't remember what video that one was on, but I was 17 whenever I got married. I know, it was 1 month before my 18th birthday. If you haven't heard that story before, I'll quickly tell you. My parents had to sign permission for me to get married. So for 1 month, my husband was my husband, but he also was my legal guardian until I turned 18. Yas. And then, let's see, we had Kristen whenever I was 27, and we had Stephen whenever I was 29. So we waited a good while because I wanted to be able to be home with them. I didn't want to have to put them in daycare, and we knew we wanted to homeschool the kids. So we did. We waited until we were at a financial place enough to where I was going to be able to stay home and be with them. So great question. Next up comes from Facebook. I actually only had one question there. So that one is from Jean Godfrey Rose. She says, when and why did you start YouTube? I started YouTube actually very first back in 2008 because that was back in the day when MySpace was still a popular thing. And a lot of our young adults at our church at that time had MySpace. And the only way that you could add videos to a MySpace page was you had to have an HTML code that you could only get through YouTube. So I started the channel first off way back then for that purpose. It would upload different videos of things that we were doing as a young adult group. Matter of fact, I think one of them is still there. I've removed a lot of them, but I think one of them is still there. You can go searching in there. I think it's called the Mallow and Coke Challenge, something like that. If you click to the home page, go to the little magnifying glass, and you can have, matter of fact, I'll just link it for you down below. But anyway, that was the reason for starting it. DeeVine DeeZine didn't really get going until 2012, and that part of the YouTube journey started with nail art. And that was just because I had some really good friends that we met over nail polish who had asked me, or made the suggestion, you really ought to show how you're doing some of your nail designs on YouTube and let us see how you're doing it. So that's kind of where it started. And my girl Mo, she is the one who helped me come up with the name, DeeVine DeeZine. So yeah, that's just kind of how it all started, and it's been a fun journey ever since then. It's evolved into a lot of things. I don't do nail art as often anymore because I'm just so busy with a lot of other things. I'll sprinkle it in every once in a while, but the channel's just kind of grown and evolved from that, and it's been a very fun journey. Now, let's hop on over to YouTube and see what you wanted to know. First question over there is from my girl, Nissa. She wants to know, are you doing Vlogmas this year? Yes, we're doing Vlogmas this year. It's going to be over on the vlog channel, though. It's not going to be on DeeVine DeeZine this year. I may put up 1 or 2 on this channel just to let everybody know that we are doing Vlogmas in case they're not subscribed over there. But if you want to follow along with Vlogmas, we've done it the past 2 years. We love it. It's so much fun. You guys seem to like it. So we will be doing it again. It always starts the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's right. Friday after Thanksgiving starts Vlogmas for us. We don't wait till December 1 around here. So you're going to want to subscribe over there to that vlog channel if you want to follow along. Next up is from Catherine. She says, how do you keep the love alive in your marriage? My husband and I fight constantly. Not sure if we will be together much longer. Well, Catherine, first of all, let me just say I'm so sorry to hear that. Marriage is tough. It is tough, and it takes a lot of hard work. People that tell you that a marriage is 50-50 have lied to you because marriage is really 100-100. Both people have to be all in if you're going to make it work. You do. And it does take work every single day. You have to work on that relationship. You're going to hit rough spots. We've hit rough spots. We've hit many rough spots. And yeah, there have been times along the way that we didn't know that we were going to make it either. And it's really been our faith in Christ that has been the glue to hold it all together, because as both people are trying their best to be all that they can be as far as what the Lord requires, then you're going to have the fruit of the Spirit, such as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, all those things that are coming through, which makes you the well-rounded person that you need to be for your spouse. So number one, that's been our biggest key. You have to be able to keep the communication open. Discuss your problems. Don't let them just fester or ignore them, hoping they're going to change on their own. You have to have open communication if you want to try to keep those things alive. And every once in a while, for me, I'll take out old pictures, either from the wedding or maybe some pictures from when we were dating. Remember some of the fun memories from the very beginning when you first fell in love that kind of brought you together, and it helps to refocus you, because as you get older and you forget some of those things or more negative, hard things happen, you kind of can focus on the hard stuff. And if you just kind of reset reset your mind a little bit, go back in the past and remember why you fell in love. Remember all the good things that you were able to see in your spouse at the beginning, can kind of help reshift that way of thinking and bring some of that spark back alive again. So that's my suggestion on how you can keep it going. No marriage is beyond hope. No marriage is beyond help. So even though you're finding yourself in a place right now where you feel like you might not can hold on much longer, there really is still hope. There is. And if you want to email me at DeeVineDeeZine@yahoo.com, I'll be sure to get back to you and give you some information about some great marriage counselors that do it even on a national level. That can be a place where you can get started on restoring and putting that marriage back together, because we do want you to have the best marriage that you possibly can have. If you're not subscribed over at Deena Rose, just my name, go subscribe over there and you can look back at some of our old Real Talk videos. We've done several of those, Real Talk with the Roses. There's also a few still on this channel. So again, if you go to the main page of DeeVine DeeZine, click that little magnifying glass and type in the words Real Talk, it should bring you up the list. There may even be a playlist actually that you can search. If so, I'll have that link for you down below. And we give you a lot of tips, a lot of marriage advice and tips for holding things together. And we've answered a lot of your questions before about marriage. So definitely take a look at some of those old videos. Hopefully that'll be a place for you to start. But we're praying for you, and we believe that you guys can pull this through. Next up comes from Juliet. She says, my question is, what was the first items you ever bought at the Dollar Tree store, and what DIY project did you make with them? Well, the first items that I ever bought at the Dollar Tree was, oh my goodness, 20 years ago or more. I may have even been shopping there before the kids came along. To tell you the truth, I'm not exactly sure when the Dollar Tree opened in our town. I can't remember if it was right before Kristen came along or right after she came along. It was right in there somewhere. So I've been shopping there a long time, you guys, a long time. And I would buy, the typical things you see me buy now, things for the house or things for the kids, especially whenever it came time for, especially when they were really little, like Easter or Christmas or birthdays and that kind of stuff. We would go there because I could get them like 10 or 15 things for their Easter basket, and it was going to be a lot for them, and they were so small that the toys didn't have to be expensive then, if you know what I mean. And so that was like some of the things we first started doing at the Dollar Tree. What was the first DIY? I don't know, because I've been shopping there for so long. I can't even tell you what was the first things that I had bought for a DIY. I really just don't know, because it's been such a long time that I've been shopping there and putting things together. So can't answer that part of the question, but that was a fun one anyway. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut it right there, you guys. I'll be posting a part 2 because there's still several more questions to go here, but we're running on a long time here. I know not all of you have time to sit there for 30 or 40 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and cut it right here. This will be part 1, and you guys can be watching either later this afternoon or maybe even tomorrow, and I'm going to get part 2 posted because I want to make sure that I get to all of your questions. These are always so fun. I love hearing what you guys want to know, and I love answering them, so definitely stay tuned for part number 2. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. I want to thank you so very much for sitting here through part 1, and I hope it was just as interesting to you as it is to me, and I hope you'll come back to see what everybody else wanted to know. A huge thank you to all of you who submitted those questions for part 1. I want to remind you, you were created for purpose, so go be all you can be, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.